Hello folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. Today we are going to be playing with Radio Mars DTH deck, which they call Dauthi Voidwalker Helm for some of the sort of trademark cards that are in the deck. As far as the general game plan goes, we are looking to have either a Leyline of the Void or a Dauthi Voidwalker in play. Both of these things are going to stop cards from going to our opponent's graveyard, and then we are going to activate a Helm of Obedience. As long as we activate this for more than X equals 1, these two cards combo so that we mill out our opponent's entire deck and they go to exile, so there's no way that they're coming back. This is the general game plan of this deck list, and we do have Karn the Great Creator as sort of additional copies of the Helm of Obedience that are in the sideboard. The rest of the deck list will look a lot like Curses, but you'll notice there's no like Chalices and Trinispheres here. Instead, we have Disruption in the form of Thought Seizes and main deck Opposition Agent, which is frequently a sideboard option in Curses, although it has been played in the main deck in the past as well. We have an Urza Saga package here that allows us to fish out a handful of various things, including just an expedition map to find a new Urza Saga, Pithing Needle to stop whatever else is going on, and a few options to give us lifelink or extra permanence. One thing I'll say about this deck list is I'm not sure how good the mana is. A lot of times, Ancient Tomb decks kind of feel like a multicolored deck because you have the colorless mana going on, and then you have your primary color. This is kind of a two-color deck, and we have a lot of colorless lands. So just at a quick glance here, I'm going to treat Caracas as a colorless land because that doesn't actually make black. So more of the lands make colorless than they do black. And the Mox Diamonds are supposed to help with that. But I'm a little nervous about some of these black cards, specifically the Dauthi Voidwalker. I don't know how easy that is actually going to be to cast in practice. So I wonder to what extent this mana base is just too greedy. I also wonder if the mix of Ancient Tombs and City of Traders is correct the way that it is. That feels like I'm going to lose some of my land drops somewhat frequently with this deck. But I have never touched this deck list before, so I'm not comfortable making changes to the mana base, having played 0 games with it. But I am a little skeptical that some of these utility lands like Inventor's Fair, Caracas, and Blast Zone are just better than more swamps. I'm also a little skeptical that if Near Deadlands is good enough, and if it's better than a swamp. Basic lands are really good, folks. Really, really good. We'll kind of see how things play out in practice, and we'll kind of see if I'm wrong. The other cute thing that's in this deck list is Marilyn of the Morn Song, which is a combo with Opposition Agent, so you control opponents while they're searching their libraries, okay? So you get to pull a card out of their deck and do what you want with it. We're probably not going to assemble that, but it's cool if we do. Otherwise, most of the sideboard is a combination of a Karn Tutor package and then just some Plague Engineers and other removal. We have a Chains of Mephistopheles to make the blue players cry. We always do love doing that. All right, before we get started, please consider throwing me a like. It's the easiest way to support my content for free. And if you find you're enjoying my content and you're not already subscribed, just saying, it's one of those things that helps out my metrics a whole lot. If you end up wanting to try out this deck list or get one of your own decks on the channel, that information is available in the video description. Let's battle. Okay, round 1 opening hand has 2 lands, a bunch of castable cards, and a Leyline that starts in play. I think this is fine. I have a decent number of land drops that I can, like a decent number of raw lands in my deck to make it so that I can hit land 3. I do think I want to Thoughtseize instead of just playing Expedition Map on turn 1. Legacy is powerful. Okay. What beats me the hardest here? Probably the Sylvan Library. I'm going to go ahead and take that. I just think if the game goes long, and it's going to because I don't have a just like combo kill enabled, I think that's the card that is most likely to destroy me. If I could take the Wasteland, I would. But I can't, so say la vie. A Wasteland of my own. That's awkward. God, I wish this was a basic swamp so bad. So bad. But it is not. So I'm maybe 50% to get Wastelanded this turn. It depends on whether or not my opponent actually wants to jam this Knight of the Reliquary. Like, it's pretty appealing. Oh, they just found something else to do. Well, shit. This Jitte kind of invalidates everything that I have going on, unfortunately. Like, I know that my opponent has another land to equip this that gets rid of Dauthi Voidwalker or Opposition Agent. Yeah, so I guess I need to play towards them having to fetch with Windswept Heath, and then stealing that with Opposition Agent so they can't get this equipped this turn. I think that's where I'm at. That feels super bad because I have to play this City of Traders out, and I very much do not want to do that. Alright, get in there. I so wish this was an Ancient Tomb right now. Losing this land is going to be brutal, because it makes a lot of my Urza Saga baselines considerably worse. Ah, fuck. Fuck. Okay, they were just playing a knight. I am just going to go ahead and dump this in play. Otherwise, I'm just wasting all of my mana. So these don't have counters on them or anything. Nope. I guess let's see if I have a land that's cool. I'll play my map. I'll crack it. Yeah, like, I'm losing this land, so trying to use Inventor's Fair to tutor isn't super reasonable. I'm losing this land, so Blast Zone getting rid of my opponent's stuff isn't super reasonable. Ugh. Yeah, this is not great here. Fuck. I'm not gonna lose this land. I'm just gonna grab another City of Traders, so that if I top deck a Helm, I maybe should have attacked with this. Weird. No, I'm just unhappy. Anyway, I grabbed the City of Traders so that if I top deck a Helm, I have the possibility of going and just having 5 mana to play and I activate it in 1 turn. I think this Jitte is going to eat me alive here. Yeah. Okay. Do I block? I probably block. Takes the Noble Hierarch off the board and gets rid of 1 Jitte counter. This does mean that the Knight of the Reliquary will be able to search, but, like, that could have happened anyway, right? Yeah. We'll see if I just get wastelanded in this turn cycle. It's definitely possible that my opponent wants to do that. Okay. Alright. I didn't draw what I needed to draw there. Why don't these have counters on them? Oh, right, because Leyline of the Void. Yep, okay. So I think I'm just effectively dead to this. If my opponent starts wastelanding me, I don't have easy outs to actually winning this game. I don't think. All right, my opponent is playing around another opposition agent, which is smart because that's what I did last time when I just passed this mana up. Yeah. So I lose the Dauthi Voidwalker here. If my opponent even wants to use the counters, honestly, like, it's very possible that they just kind of like, yeah. All right. Yeah. Basic lands are good. Basic lands are real good. Ooh, okay. Let's see if I can sneak in this 3 damage. Like 50-50 if my opponent actually wants to remove it. I don't think they have to. Then I will play this Pithing Needle. My opponent will probably remove 2 here, gain 2 life in response. Yeah. That's kind of to be expected. So this is kind of a good news, bad news situation, in that I stop the Umezawa's Jitte, but my opponent still has a Wasteland Machine, and I think I... Why? Why are you so good at just naturally drawing the Wasteland? This is a slow clock, but I can't really play my next land. What? Really? Oh, do you just have the depth combo in your version? Soft that if you do. I'm gonna thought seize my opponent and see what's up. Swords to Plowshares and Cauldra. Cauldra stays. I'll take Swords to Plowshares. I can't really play out this land. It just gets wastelanded immediately. I think I need to draw. Well, I mean, a lot of it is like, is this the Dark Depths package? If it's not, I'm not super worried. Oh, it's just a Dryad Arbor. Sick. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Knight of the Reliquary is going to do its thing again. Getting Gaia's Cradle. Oh, God. That's exactly 7 mana for Cauldra. Alright, did not anticipate that happening. I don't expect that I come back from that. Yeah, I'm dead. GG's. 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, so I don't actually have removal spells in my main deck, do I? That's rough. Okay. What am I doing with my life? I think I need to play this pile of removal. I think Karn is reasonable. I think Crucible needs to stay in the sideboard so I can tutor for it. And the whatchamacallit, the exalted creatures make it so that an ensnaring bridge doesn't always stop my opponent's stuff. I might board in 1 bridge. So I don't want Cookbook. I think that's my weakest target. I think I'm going to cut this pretty much every game. From there, assume that Expedition map is slow and clunky. I'm really just lacking in the removal department as far as game 1 goes. What am I supposed to cut now? Like, I assume that in basically every round, these 15 cards are untouchable. I just have to keep them because that's how I win. I think I need the Dark Rituals so that I can, like, get an opposition agent out and cheese some free wins. Do I cut my Thought Seizes? That feels bad because it's one of my few ways to interact with my opponent's stuff. It's bad against Sylvan Library. Bad against controlling the top of the deck. Like, I don't know. Okay, so this has the entire combo. And if I draw a land, it has a turn 3 kill. If I don't draw a land, I basically can do literal nothing with this hand other than just, like, play these 2 things. I can't even activate Retrofitter Foundry. I think I have to mulligan this one, despite the fact that it's... Alright, we'll mulligan this one, too. Well, on 5, I'm definitely keeping this. I'll get rid of 2 Dark Rituals. And I am just going to do this on my main phase. Just absolutely floop it into play. If it works and it wins me the game, great. But I don't think I want to be in the situation where my opponent can just play around it by waiting. Okay, my opponent's got a Hierarch. That's fine. The Hierarch does mean that my opponent is better against opposition agent randomly stopping some of their fetch lands. Like, do I just play City and start making Thopters? I don't think a 1/1 is worth potentially losing the City of Traders somewhat immediately. Just gonna go ahead and play this out. And then attack for 3. Get in there, buddy. Alright, so... I need gas. Like, I don't have access to double black. I don't have access to... Yeah. I mean, as far as a top deck goes, that's a hell of a drug. I'm gonna attack in first to see if my opponent will, like, Swords to Plowshares this. Plague Engineer is definitely one of my better draws in this situation. Like, it gets me a 2 for 1. Oh my gosh, yeah, alright. And I played this in a way that allows this Plague Engineer to potentially sit on the board for a while. Although ultimately I am unsure if, like, Plague Engineer sitting in play is just better than Opposition Agent sitting in play. Okay, there's a green sun. So my Opposition Agent was blocking that. Okay, that was sort of weird. I got a weird lag burst there. I'll just poke my opponent for 2 with an Engineer and start making Thopters. Well, you know, it's Servo, and then it's Thopters, and then it's Constructs. It's a process, you know. That's a human. Okay, is that just admitting defeat? I got a 1/1. Yeah. Yeah, I'll be playing that. I'll bash for 3. Okay. Opponent goes to 12. And I will cast an instant speed sinkhole on my opponent. This Plague Engineer was absolutely brutal. All right. 3 more damage. Again, the awkwardness of City of Traders is very clear here. All right, sure. I'll go ahead and make a 1/1. Oh, nice. I've got an opposition agent as well. This crashes in for 4. Brings my opponent to 5. I'm not going to play the opposition agent immediately, because if my opponent like has a fetch land, I think they just have to like play it and do their thing. Okay, cool. I don't think I will change how I have sideboarded. Could potentially just like board in a Walking Ballista if there's some other card that I want to board out. I don't know that there is. Unless I just want to board out all 4 Karns. And then board in Bridge, Helm, Ballista, like map or something like that. I think I just need access to more copies of Helm of Obedience here. Okay. This is going to Goldfish pretty quickly. I will keep this hand. So on turn 1, I will play Swamp, Mox Diamond, discard Caracas, and play Dauthi Voidwalker. On turn 2, I will grab a Karn. Okay. Swamp, Mox Diamond, discard Caracas, Dauthi Voidwalker. Turn 2, I have City into Karn and wish for my Helm. Yeah, that's fine. It's a Swords to Plowshares that is going to beat me here. Okay, this is a Dark Ritual turn. I can hold my City of Traders in hand for next turn to try to play around Wasteland, but then I can't actually activate. So I think I'll hold the Dark Ritual in hand instead. So let's go Karn. And it's gonna resolve because my opponent's not playing blue. Minus this. Yes. Grab Helm. Bash in for 3. And hope that my opponent doesn't have the land drop to get Jitte into play. Well, actually, I guess they can't equip the Jitte with Karn on board, so I guess I'm safe in that regard. Okay. See what they can do. Alright, opponent has kind of tapped and untapped things a few times. Okay, so they're going to go for a Stoneforge attack on, I presume, Karn. Yep, that is indeed happening. Alright. So, how to best win here? Can't really do 2 things no matter what. I'm going to go ahead and just Dark Ritual, play out the Helm. Okay, I still have a mana left, so I'll take my Dauthi Voidwalker attack now. Although, honestly, if my opponent has a removal spell, they already should have used it. I'll hit in for 3. This is Shadow, so it can't be blocked or anything. I don't need to worry about that. Opponent goes to 12, plus my Karn on nothing. And now, I am not going to activate this Helm of Obedience until my... Okay, so I'm thinking about Force of Vigor right now. If my opponent has Force of Vigor, they have to pitch cast it right now. If I let them untap, they can hard cast it. So I think it is better to activate right now. It's a little bit worse against Swords to Plowshares, though. But if they had Swords to Plowshares, they should have fired that off earlier. Because they saved themselves 3 points of life. Okay, sure. But, like, I think you risk death a little bit by doing it that way. If I wait, you lose a mana on your own turn, which is kind of a big deal. Okay, sure. I'm a little surprised Jitte... Oh, no. Karn's not dead yet. Karn was about to die. Okay. Alright. So I'll floop a Leyline into play. An opponent is going to have to choose like which one of these things they get rid of. I believe in a vacuum it is correct for them to go after the Helm, because I have fewer copies of that effect. Like, there's 4 Helms in the 75, whereas there's 8 copies of Leyline / Dauthi Voidwalker. Ooh. Okay. That's fine, I'll take 3. Someone's got to crack this Pride Maid. Yep. So now, I think I'm basically dead. Don't have something like a Toxic Deluge to bail me out. Mother of Runes means I can't trade with Opposition Agent in combat. Like, Urza Saga construct tokens are going to be small. Yeah, yep, okay. I mean, I think this is it for me. Unless my opponent gets, like, super greedy and makes a bad Mother of Runes attack. I don't think I can win. Yeah, Teague is some old tech, which is just very, very good here. Okay. That gets Cauldra. I am definitely not beating that. Yep. My opponent's play patterns seem absolutely insane to me. Like, you're safe against Opposition Agent with attacks in, with a Gaddock Teague in play, and a Mother of Runes backing it up. It's basically impossible. Yeah, alright. I think I am dead. Oh, got super weird lag burst here. Magic Online doing Magic Online things. Cool. I am dead enough that I am just going to concede here rather than let Magic Online figure out what's going on here. Literally can't even concede the game right now. I'm going to stop recording and just call this the end of the round. We'll let Magic Online figure its shit out. Okay, so I ended up conceding my last round. Magic Online totally crashed, and it was in the middle of one of the Eternal Weekend events, so that was fun for people to sort out. My opponent and I played 2 or 3 more turns, and I ended up conceding. They were pretty far ahead. My opening hand here is, I think, medium minus. This is going to be a hand where, like, if Opposition Agent is good or if Leyline is good against my opponent, then, like, this hand is great. And if they aren't, I feel like this hand trips over its own mana base and dies. Again, I do just wish this was a swamp. Because it's going to do a minimum of 2 damage to me, likely more. Concede? 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 Not concede. I mean, Opposition Agent has text here. That's good news. Do I Thoughtseize, or do I just slam Opposition Agent? I think I just want to slam Opposition Agent in my opponent's upkeep. Like, Urza's Saga can basically be anything in Legacy right now, right? Like, if my opponent is playing a fetch land-based deck, I would like to preemptively shut those off rather than, like, holding up my mana awkwardly. Opposition Agent has seen enough play now. Ooh. Oh. You're playing against Painter. This Urza Saga is fantastic. So I can go up to 5 mana here. How do I want to use that 5 mana? I think I need to play the redundant Opposition Agent. And I'll Thoughtseize my opponent here. Ooh, okay. These are cards. So my opponent's about to lose Urza Saga. They'll have 3 mana on their turn. They can play Breo's Apprentice. I think I'm most scared of Karn here. Red Elemental Blast is admittedly annoying. But I'm going to take that Karn. And so the whole Red Elemental Blast situation is why I opted to play a second Opposition Agent here. 2 mana to make a creature? 2 mana to make a creature. Anyway, finishing the thought was so that I could play around a blast effect that just destroys one of my Opposition Agents. So my opponent's going to go to 17. I have 6 power in play. I'm going to have to worry about this thing. It will trade with an Opposition Agent. We might not really be able to attack well here. Alright, that is how this works. I get a thing. Do I take a Grindstone then? I'll take a Grindstone. That's cool. I had gotten, like, so excited about... Oh my god, did my opponent just lose the game if I draw a mana source? Yeah, my opponent just lost the game if I drew a mana source. Yep. So everything is blue. I play a Grindstone. Wait. I think this still works. Second guessing myself with the replacement effect here of the Leyline. But I think it still works. Yes. Well, my opponent conceded, but I'm pretty sure that still works. Because it says it mills. It's not like checking the graveyard to see what they were. Okay, cool. We killed my opponent because they did not hold up their red elemental blast. That was known information. All right, opposition agent doing stuff. Okay, what do I want versus this deck? I have Karn the Great Creators, which is cool. Plague Engineer does some stuff versus like Thopters randomly. I don't know that I actually want that. Feed the Swarm is fine. Sudden Edict is fine. Yeah, like I feel like I have okay cards. Don't really want the Underworld Cookbook. I feel like that's slow. Don't really want this. I just honestly feel like I'm going to sideboard it out every round. From here, I don't know that I need to sideboard more. Yeah, like, I have cards that are okay. I could potentially, like, go down one Urza Saga target or something and get more removal in here. Don't know that I'm going to do that. I think I'll play both pieces of 2-mana removal and then skip on the 3-mana removal. I don't know. I'm on the fence about the Plague Engineer itself. I mean, this opening hand is pretty sick. I'll absolutely keep this. I have Thoughtseize on 1, into Opposition Agent on 2, into Karn on 3. I lose this land again, but this is pretty good. I would love to draw an Ancient Tomb. Almost. Let's Thoughtseize. Poke a hole in this hand. My opponent kept a very soft hand. I can either get rid of the Lightning Bolt so my Opposition Agent lives, or I can get rid of the Goblin Engineer. I think I'll just get rid of the Goblin Engineer and just, like, not play the game of, like, letting my opponent get that and using the graveyard as a resource. Because I think I am just fine with, like, my Opposition Agent living. Hell yeah! Absolutely good with that. Absolutely good with that. Like, it slows me down, but now I don't have to lose my own lands. Yup. I'll just play a swamp and pass. Okay, yeah, my opponent looks like they're not just gonna play out the Spirit Guide. Looks like they're gonna hold it. Okay, I mean, I have Leyline Helm in hand. I'm good with what's going on here. Like, I'll play an opposition on my end step. It'll probably get lightning bolted. Then I'll play a Karn, show off my opponent's artifacts, or maybe just do Leyline Helm outright. So here's my friend. It resolves. My opponent didn't use their mana immediately. Cool. I'll play my land and battle. I'm gonna hit for 3. I know... Oh, fuck me. Okay. I guess I just time walked myself. Cool. It's a really bad misclick. Alright, it is what it is. Alright, can't play that one. I think I have to play Karn out as to not just die to a top deck painter now. It's frustrating that happened because I misclicked. Gonna plus and kill that Lotus Petal. Yeah, but the game should have ended this turn. I should have played Leyline or Karn last turn. And if I played Leyline, I play Helm this turn, have 5 mana, get the kill. Okay, yep, sure, you can Pithing Needle Karn. That's fine. Like, yeah, you can play your Spirit Guide out, I don't care. Yep. Karn has enough loyalty where he can just, like, sit in play and eat some stuff now. I'll play my Leyline and pass, and I've got the kill next turn. That should beat just about anything my opponent does. It's like, they were hellbent going into their turn. Yeah, so, like, my Karn can go down 2 loyalty. That doesn't matter. I'll play a Helm. Play a land. I'll pass the turn. And then I'll upkeep mill my opponent out. Yep, and there is the concession. GG's. Rise in mana base. Like, I can start making Urza Saga tokens on turn 2, but that leaves me with 3 dead cards in hand. I'm just gonna mulligan this one. Shit. Nope. Okay, how about this? Okay. Throw this back. Slow Urza Saga hand? I guess slow Urza Saga hand. Alright, so my opponent says that they registered the wrong deck. They still have, like, free cards, like, from the, like, master loan accounts, whatever you want to call them. So my opponent might be playing something random. that they're not used to playing. We're just going to go land go here. I am playing against something unfair, which is not great after mulling to 5, but Opposition Agent hopefully is pretty good. Show and tell? I mean, I'll show and tell and put an Opposition Agent to see if it does anything. That's an Emrakul. I do not believe I have game 1 outs to that here. Yup, I do not. Alright, concede. Alright. My edicts aren't bad. Like, To the Slaughter and Sudden Edict both do things against a show and tell. Feed the Swarm can play out a sneak attack that's played out. I don't know that I want it. I'll play Chains. I will board in 1 defense grid and keep the other Karns as wishes for Ensnaring Bridge. And because I'm almost always going to wish for Ensnaring Bridge, I'm going to board in a Helm of Obedience. I'll go Cookbook and Marlin out. Do not believe that this needs to be a Shadow Spear matchup. Don't believe this needs to be a matchup for this Karn. Unsure on my last board out. Just be like a Dauthi Voidwalker. I'll still have 7 combo pieces in the deck. I could also just like board out an Expedition map. I do have a Caracas though. Maybe I just like don't need Retrofitter Foundry. I could buy that. Yeah, I guess. And not insane. It plays an Opposition Agent and tries to get a free one. Like, Opposition Agent is my show and tell here, as weird as that sounds to say. So I think I'll play this swamp. And then I'll discard one of the other swamps. I haven't mulliganed once, by the way. They're on 6. Okay. It resolved. I discard this. I'll do an upkeep Dark Ritual into Opposition Agent. I'm just going to try to stick this. And I do it with this timing to play around Force of Negation. Okay. My opponent still had Force of Will. So we do a 2-for-2 trade here. I do not think that that favors me, because it's like I used a card to Dark Ritual. So, like, I didn't get the 2-for-1 that Force of Will often gives you. And, well, I mean, with another land, that's not bad. I need to hit that next land drop next turn. If I do, and especially if it's a soul land, things look good. If I miss out, though, I kind of just expect that I'm dead. Okay. Sure. I don't know that you need to play the second land before the Preordain, but I don't think it matters that much. I mean, Dauthi Voidwalker is a fine card. It means I win if my opponent casts Show and Tell. I just put in Helm of Obedience, activate it, mill my opponent out, GG's. Okay, my position got really good all of a sudden. Yeah. Yeah. Nice Grizzlebrand. I activate Helm of Obedience. Goodbye. Yep. Ball. I could cast an Emrakul, by the way. I don't think I'm going to do that. Honestly, though, for the screenshot... No, I was about to cast Emrakul. Okay. Plan worked that game. Let's do the plan again. This hand doesn't really do anything. Like, Pithing Needle does stuff, technically, assuming my opponent plays Sneak Attack, or it can make a Grizzlebrand worse, but the rest of the hand doesn't look good. How's this hand? Not amazing. Probably not bad enough to throw back. I will keep this and I think get rid of Blast Zone. Possible I'm supposed to keep my 4th land drop, but Dauthi Voidwalker has some value on its own. Without the Thoughtseize, though, I would have thrown this hand back. Alright. I mean, I'm super happy to draw this. Now I have a 1-2-3 curve. Let's see if I can rip a Show and Tell out of my opponent's hand, or if I can make them Brainstorm. I've made them Brainstorm. So now I'm scared, because my opponent can, like, hide their Show and Tell. Okay. Both of these cards are quite good. I probably need to take the Cunning Wish, so that if my opponent just has, like, Show and Tell Omniscience, they don't just get, like, the free ability to win. Okay, sure. Ooh. Like, I know they have a Ponder. At the very least, I can take that. So let's play this out. Ooh, that's an Omniscience. I am absolutely just going to take that. I'll leave them with the cantrip. Okay, good stuff. So my opponent should play one of their fetch lands here this turn and fetch with it to play around opposition agent, but they might not do that. I might get to nab a fetch land if they don't play around it. Which, with my opponent's resources being as bad as they are right now, is actually quite good. Let's get this microphone up a little bit. Yeah, that's a little better. Okay, what did that Ponder do? Okay, that was no shuffle into Ancient Tomb. Okay, seeing that happen, I guess I'll do it in my opponent's upkeep. There's some weird 4-mana counterspells. I'll just do it now. Although I guess that doesn't... I shouldn't have done that because I didn't play around Intuition. Which is a bit of a fringe thing to play around, but, like, it is what it is, right? Like, it's relevant. So I have turned 2 of my opponent's cards into very dead cards. Ooh, I can't really play this Urborg now, because doing so turns 2 of my opponent's cards into colorless sources, whereas they currently do nothing. So I'm going to go ahead and play a Pithing Needle. I'll name Grizzlebrand with this. I don't think I've seen red from my opponent yet, so I think that's fine. It's possible I'm supposed to play the Dauthi Voidwalker first to play it around a daze. I have my opponent on a pretty swift clock. Ooh, Drawn from Dreams. That is a scary card here. Yeah, and this is the sort of thing where, like, not playing the Urborg matters. I'll probably play the... Okay, now I don't need to think about it. I'll just play this. I'll bash in for my 6. And now a top-decked Helm kills my opponent. Opponent can still just assemble the show and tell pieces here and beat me. I am not going to put in this land. Okay, so they have Omniscience. And you win. That ain't bad. That ain't bad. 4, 5, 6. I go to 1. I don't kill my opponent on the backswing. Yeah, that's fine. I can concede there. I will have lost 6 permanents. That's a shame though. We would have gotten Karn, which would have gotten Helm, so it would have taken us 2 turns to kill our opponents, either via damage or via combo. Alright, we've gotten paired against a Yorion deck, which probably means Death and Taxes. This doesn't have stable mana, it has to go back. That's not good. So, I think I have to keep it, but I'm, like, super not pleased. Like, I don't want a disappearing land versus Death and Taxes mana denial suite, but if I don't keep this, then I can't play Opposition Agent on 2. My opponent's on the play, so, like, they get to Stoneforge before I can drop Opposition Agent anyway. Just not super happy about how things stand right now. Just, like, looking at the opening hands, I'm not in a good situation. Ooh, that's a Windswept Heath. That's not traditionally a Death and Taxes thing. Tropical Island, okay. So this opposition agent on turn 2 might actually be pretty solid. I'll have to make a decision about when I play it. There's no shuffle with the Ponder. Okay. Well, this makes me feel less bad about losing the first City of Traders. Still don't feel great about it. It'll probably take me a few turns to realize whether we're playing against a control deck with just, like, derpy blink stuff, or if we're playing against some, like, blue mid-range combo deck like a Lurin or something like that that has just been built with Yorion in mind. Yeah, like, don't fetch here. Damn it. Okay, well. Alright, that just is what it is. A snow-covered land, this still could be either, right? Okay, so the little needle is tilting more in line of derpy control deck. Bottom with Preordain here. I think I wait on Opposition Agent this time. The reason being that my opponent is pretty likely to have something like Swords to Plowshares or Prismatic Ending, and if I, like, telegraph this too much and just, like, throw it onto the battlefield, my opponent can probably play around it. Alright. Punish my mana base. I will cast my Human Rogue. And honestly, I probably just, like, start going down the Urza's Saga route here. Although, like, Karn is definitely a thing that I might want to do instead. I'll get to attack once with my opposition agent, and then I'm not sure that I can attack again afterwards. Ooh, well, I guess I can do this before I make my land drop and kind of make a decision that way, but the Thoughtseize is not great against the Sylvan Library that my opponent just deployed. Prismatic Ending, double Force of Negation. I will take the Prismatic Ending. That stops a fetch land that is in my opponent's hand. And now I probably just become the beatdown. Like, I'll play my Urza Saga, I'll attack with Opposition Agent, I'll make some constructs, and hope that my opponent forgets about Opposition Agent. Because honestly, that happens sometimes. Down to 15. Alright. So just FYI for future video smoothing processes, unless I have something to say, I'm just going to like skip over the Sylvan Library triggers every turn, because otherwise that's just going to be, you know, a couple dead seconds here and there. I know my opponent can make their land drop because they do have a tropical island. Well, I should say can make their land drop in a meaningful way, but they don't really get to do the whole like fetch, ponder, shuffle, gain maximum value. Although they can just like find a 1-mana white removal spell, remove opposition agent, make me sad. So it has to be Swords of Plowshares, not Prismatic Ending. Oh, they might forget. Or they just have the white removal spell. Okay, that's another Helm. Not really great right now. It is what it is. I'll take it. I'll bash in for my 3. Okay, they had it. That's fine. Like, I'll make a pair of idiots. I'm the beatdown right now. Ooh, opponent opting to save this Windswept Heath here rather than clear out cards with the Ponder. That means they liked what they saw. Or that they potentially hid something good from a Thoughtseize effect as well. Okay, opponent opting not to do anything that like puts their life total in jeopardy. That's reasonable. Alright. This is going to be a 1-1. I will turn it into a 2-2 right here. And then it becomes a 3-3. I could Pithing Needle a land here. And get a Sinkhole. I don't think that's better than Retrofitter Foundry, though. I'm going to grab Retrofitter Foundry. I'm going to play my City of Traders. I will attack with the 3-3, which can become a 4-4, which is a relevant number due to Endurance. Alright, so no block. It is a 4-4. And we'll see if my opponent, like, randomly plays a Dress Down and kills all my constructs and makes me sad. Because it's gonna take something like a Dress Down or a Terminus to make me sad at this point. Or, like my opponent, just infinitely comboing off. I feel like they're a control deck and not like a mid-range blue creature pile like Alurin or Food Chain or something at this point. But you never know. Sure. Okay, cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 potential mana this turn. Let me just count that again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think my turn starts with a Helm of Obedience, and I see if it resolves. My opponent has Force of Negations. They can just trade with this. Okay. So that was a pitch cast. My opponent only has 1 card left. I don't think I want to attack with this Servo. And I don't think I want to lose a city here, despite the fact that I would really be willing to use Dark Ritual to just make another Servo. Actually, maybe I do. Yeah, I do. So I'll bash in. Alright, so no blocks. This is 9 damage. So I'll cast a Dark Ritual. And make my Servo for the 10th point of damage. Well, really the 11th, but I was at 9 before, you know. Okay, good stuff. Alright, we're playing against some sort of control deck. Would like to get this out of my deck. Would like to get this out of my deck. Means I need to board in 2 cards. Chains is good. I think it's reasonable to play some preemptive answers to opposing threats. I didn't see a great Pithing Needle target, but that doesn't mean that, like, the Pithing Needle target doesn't exist in my opponent's deck. Like, there's probably things like Jason Teferi or Shark Typhoon in there of some kind. Oh, I also probably just want to play this Karn Scion of Urza. It grinds. So, like, I'll start with Chains and Karn, and then I have 3 more cards that I can board in. I could lose some of my speed and just drop my Dark Rituals. Drop 3 Dark Rituals for a couple of removal spells, and a way to answer a Sylvan Library. It's not the worst. It's not the best, because my opponent just has derpy things like, Ice Fang Coatl or Snapcaster Mage or something. Like, those eat the removal instead of these edicts. But those things can also let my opposition agents get through. I also could get rid of Mox Diamond. Mox Diamond is a little bit of a liability versus the Prismatic Ending deck. I also could just, like, drop a land. Yeah, let's board out 1 Mox Diamond. Alright, perfect mana base here. Have to mulligan that. Perfect mana base. I mean, with however many cards I'm on now, I'm on 5 cards. I just have to just keep this. Do I keep a Leyline even? I probably keep a Leyline in case my opponent has Uro. It sounds weird. I'm gonna get rid of Karn the Great Creator. I'm going to assume that my opponent can interact with me in some capacity that matters. And I'm not just going to go for, like, the Helm Goldfish as quickly as possible. I also think, like, that a Helm is likely to just get stuck in my hand even if I can tutor it, because I only have 2 lands. Like, I have a 4 mana burst once, as far as my my mana goes. Things get super weird if I draw Opposition Agent, by the way. I don't know what I'm going to do in that situation. Come on. Like, there's fucking 4 of those. Why do you make me make this choice? Alright, so the reason I was talking about this exact decision is because, like, I have Force of Will to think about, I have Force of Negation to think about, and I also have Brainstorm for interaction to think about. I think I am just going to do this on my main phase, as to not let my opponent Brainstorm. I don't think they'll Force of Negation this, but they might. Like, then there's also the line where, like, you try to get a fetch land after your opponent takes 1 more card off the ponder, but I don't know. I have played enough Aven Mind Sensor to know how much it sucks when your opponent plays around it. Maybe since I have the Karn, it's correct to, like, wait, and I can just, like, not play it if my opponent doesn't fetch, and just play a Karn on turn 2. It's a super weird situation. What does Ponder do? That's a shuffle. Good news for Phil fans? Question mark. Good news for Phil fans. Do it? I think just do it. Like, this is technically not a card right now, but it's likely to become a card in the future. It's likely to become a card immediately. Yeah, I'll absolutely take that card. Thank you. What do I not want them to have? Oh, this also just lets me view their whole fucking deck while we're at it. Beautiful. Okay, let's take a screenshot. Okay, so we're looking at slow, green sun, blue-based control. Burrow matters. They have Wasteland. They have Grist they can search up. They have 3 Ice Fangs. Not actually that many snow-covered lands, right? I know they have a snow-covered plains in hand, because I saw that previously. I'm going to just take another snow-covered land out of their deck. Okay, so this is turn 2, so I've made my land drop. I'll attack for 3. So, I don't know how many Swords to Plowshares... Oh, no, 1 is just in a different column. Okay, they have 4 Swords to Plowshares in their deck that they can draw. Okay. This is fine. And Ice Fang does not have Death Touch yet. That means Karn happens next turn. That's super good for me. Very happy with where I'm at. I don't think I need to play the Deadlands. I'm just going to play this Snow-Covered Forest this turn. And I'll play Karn next turn. If they play 4 Ice Fang Coatls in their deck, they have 1 in hand. Yep. That's fine. Like, I've already played around that a little bit by removing a snow-covered land from your deck, so it's harder to get Death Touch. Yeah, I mean, Brainstorm locking yourself in this situation is very rough, and you don't... Well, if you have a snow-covered plains, like I think you do, you could hit Swords to Plowshares, remove Opposition Agent, and then fetch. Also, my opponent does not have an Endurance unless it was in their hand. So that's cool. And they found Swords to Plowshares. That's okay. Like, they only have... Well, they either have a Force of Negation in hand, or they've boarded some out. Ooh, baby. I think this is the good Karn here, because this gets me Helm and just wins me the game. So I think I play this bad Karn first. Alright. Go, my Scion of Urza. Did you board extra Force of Negations out, or did you have 1 in hand? You had 1 in hand. Oh my gosh. So my opponent fetching so that I could see their entire library was, like, super good for me in terms of, like, figuring out what my outs are and what I need to be playing around. Just absolute peak magic here. This is now a live fetch, though. Ice Fang Coatl still pretty far away from Death Touch. That's fine. I know I don't have Dazes to play around now. Oh, and Urza Saga, just as well. Play Karn. Ooh, it is prompting a fetch. My opponent pitched a Force of Will last turn. So, do they have yet another Force of Negation? It seems weird that they would keep Force of Negation over Force of Will. Oh, okay. They did. I think I have to sinkhole myself here to play this Urza Saga and get that going. I need to get over the finish line here before my opponent's inevitability can kick in. Because while Uro is not a win condition right now, Uro plus Karakas is just a repeatable, like, draw and life gain engine, and, like, there is shit like Primeval Titan and Grist in my opponent's deck that are just going to be hard to beat. And there is also just, like, the Pokemon that's sitting in their companion zone that can potentially just come in and draw them a bunch of cards. Of note, my opponent does have 2 Knight of Autumns in their deck, so I could lose an Urza's Saga to something like a Green Sun Zenith. Okay, new land, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, that is called a shot. Oh. That seems significantly worse to me than just killing my Urza's Saga and never letting me fuck around with this card. Because this is going to get a Pithing Needle for Grist. And then I don't really care if you have a couple of 1/1s. That's not something that is going to, like, super dampen what I'm doing. Yeah, I feel like that was bad for my opponent, because, like, this also just, like, blows up one of my lands and makes it harder for me to win via just, like, top decking a Helm. It means that, like, I can't cast my other 4-drops as well. Okay, so they just had another. Yeah, I think if you have the other, you absolutely just take the sinkhole first. Like, you don't need another turn of Grist activations. Yep. I'll make my Deuter in response. But it is an unimpressive 1/1 at this point. My opponent's super favored right now. They have the Yorion waiting in exile with, like, Ice Fang Coatl and Knight of Autumn. So, like, they can just start blowing up my constructs, blowing up my ley lines by blinking this, and they have Karakas to repeat it. I'm super dead. I will need to just combo off, and I will need my opponent to not take me off the things that beat them. Yeah, but I think if my opponent figures out, like, just put Yorion into hand forehead, I just lose. Notably, I did not board in Plague Engineers here. This is a horrific fucking attack from my opponent. Like, this blinking this thing is one of the ways that I lose. You absolutely do not let me trade for that here. Absolutely not. My opponent has forgotten about their Yorion. My opponent straight up forgot about their fucking Pokemon. Alright. I will Pithing Needle Grist. And just like that, I'm live to win this game. If my opponent, like, continues to forget about their Yorion that's hanging out in their companion zone here, and they don't increase that pressure, like, I can just draw a land, play Karn, and potentially just win one turn later. Yep, I'll take 5. It hurts, but taking 5 is so much better than taking 9. Yeah. Opposition Agent isn't that bad of a draw. Like, it means I can take out an insect token in combat each turn. Okay. Wasteland is super annoying for me. Alright, so the same creatures come in. Note, my opponent could have wastelanded me pre-combat to take me off of this line, or at least see what was coming first. They did not. They also just did not wasteland me. So I play Karn, and if I draw a mana source next turn, I win. Like, I minus... Yes. I'm just going to do a quick check to make sure there's nothing I want more. There is not. I will take Helm. Absolutely just hold Opposition Agent back. The individual points of life matter so much here. Yeah, brainstorm away. Okay. Ponder can shuffle off the brainstorm. That's very valuable here. That is not a shuffle, though. Okay. Everything is going at Karn. Karn is going to die. That's fine. My life total remains higher. My opponent can now wasteland me to keep me off of... Oh my god, my opponent did not wasteland me. Why? Do you have... It can't... No, you're dead. Force of negation doesn't work. Force of will doesn't work. Yeah, my opponent has... Well... No, I don't think they have any... Now you use your wasteland. Okay, I mean, it doesn't have a mana ability yet, so that's fine. I guess I play this out. My opponent does not currently have access to prismatic ending mana. Or wait, no, they do. Blue, white, green, black. I guess they do. But I don't think I play around that. Like, my opponent is misplaying so much that, like, I can't tell what they're doing. Like, if this is a trap from them, like, well done. Yeah, why does Field of the Dead matter here? Yeah, so my opponent should be dead to this. Because they can't cast, like, a Force of Vigor with the mana. Or no, I guess they could. I'll just let it go to my opponent's turn. They can untap this land. I don't want to let them draw another card, though. Alright. Nope. Dead. Absolutely dead. My opponent cost themselves that game on absolute multiple levels. They chose not to blow up 2 different of my lands that they could have blown up. They forgot about their companion, which they had the ability to Caracas and repeatedly replay. I had no business winning this game. Absolutely no business. We're up to 2-2. We'll see if we can come out ahead in this league. But I should have lost that one. No question. Okay, I'm going to keep this hand. I immediately lose if my Mox Diamond gets countered. I just have to, like, fully accept that. I don't think that's super likely to happen. Lands isn't popular right now. Lands used to be a deck that you used to just, like, Force of Will Mox Diamond on site against. How do I want to play this hand? I think I just want to Mox Diamond pass and try to be flexible with what's going on here. I'm going to Mox Diamond... Well, I could also just play a fucking Karn on turn 1 and not try to get cute with Opposition Agent. Alright. Let's do that. Karn. Minus. Yes. Liquid Metal Coating. Don't be a Lightning Bolt deck. Don't do it. I'll be sad. Okay. That is sure as hell not a Lightning Bolt. I think it is correct to play Liquid Metal Coating this turn. Opposition Agent is cool and all, but I think getting this started is disgusting, and then I play Opposition Agent as the follow-up and shut off fetch lands and Elvish Reclaimer searches. Like, it's fucking gross here. I have a couple of Plague Engineers post-board, which I'm super looking forward to. I guess technically we could be playing against Post and not Elves, but yeah, I mean... Okay, we don't get to snipe that fetch land, but future fetch lands, I am on board with hurting. Okay. So an awkward thing happens here, where if I blow up this land, these Elvish Reclaimers become 3/3s. Or rather, 3 4s. Oh, this is so awkward. I just have this second Karn. I think I am going to Karn plus on Liquid Metal Coating and use that to hold the ground. And then if my opponent tries to search, I get them with Opposition Agent. Oh, wow. That's a super weird line that I've never done before. Okay. All right. I'm a dude. Fuck. I don't have to tip my hand yet, though. Oh, God. That Wasteland is so fucking brutal. All right. Well, shit. Just overall bad time. Overall bad time for me. I'm just gonna lose to aggro here. Like, I'm gonna lose Karn this turn. Opposition Agent doesn't trade with it. And then I'm not gonna be able to cast the stuff that's in my hand. Yeah. Just, this hand absolutely did not work out for me. Like, despite being, I think, objectively quite good against what my opponent is doing. You're a little late, bud. Like, I'll crash on in, but my opponent has the faster clock here. And, like, because I have no real like, I have 1 mana source, and a Prismatic Ending can just take that out at any point. Oh. Yep. Okay. I'm gonna lose after playing a turn 1 Karn. What a... just... I mean, I guess takes a turn off the clock though, but I assume that the information I gain. Oh God. Okay, yeah. I mean, I basically have to take the Sylvan Library because I can't pressure my. All right, you know what? Fuck it. I'm out. Deuces. I'm not winning this one. All right. So what do we have versus some sort of green-white depths deck? Out. Okay. Just can start from there. I would like Feed the Swarm versus Sylvan Library. I would like Sudden Edict and To the Slaughter to get rid of opposing creatures. I don't know that Plague Engineer is actually great. Ensnaring Bridge is awkward because I also want to win via large creatures in some cases. I think I'll just leave those as tutor targets. I would like to board in this Karn because I think a lot of games are going to get grindy. I don't know what to board out as my last card. I think I need the Dark Rituals here. Like, I expect the games to be grindy, but I gain so much advantage by getting an early Dauthi Voidwalker or Opposition Agent in play that actually gets something. I have to board out 2 cards here. Let's junk an Expedition map. Shit, I don't know what the last card is supposed to be. I don't think I can cut any lands. I'm gonna cut a Mox Diamond versus the Prismatic Ending deck. Like, despite the fact that I want that acceleration, I think I have to, like, respect how good Prismatic Ending is. I mean, like, yes, it didn't work last time. I see what you're saying, YouTube comments, but this time will be different. All right. Swamp. Dark Ritual. Storm is 1. Storm is 2. Storm is 3. And we'll go ahead and minus this. And quick check, is there anything I want more than Liquid Metal Coating? No. I will pick that up and begin the land destruction immediately. Once again, Elvish Reclaimer will be my opponent's best turn 1 play. Assuming they don't have like a sideboard card like a Pithing Needle or something. Okay, sure. Fuck this card. I think I'm supposed to follow the same pattern as last game of... Well, no, maybe I don't go destroying as quickly as possible. I don't know, like... No, fuck this land. I also don't want to lose my city. Alright, there's Liquid Metal Coating. Target Savannah. Blow it up, and then I'll just set up to Opposition Agent block next turn. Okay. Ooh. Yeah, if my opponent plays around some stuff here, they just get got by Opposition Agent. And I get to guarantee it, too. How cute do I want to get? There's varying degrees of cute here. I think I go ahead and target it and force the fetch and then play Opposition Agent. You fell for my trap! Okay. So I get to take a quick screenshot of their deck and As you saw previously, I am very dangerous when I know literally every card in your deck. Okay, 3 knights here, 3 green suns here. Those are cards that could be in my opponent's hand reasonably. Alright, do I want to minus with the Karn for any reason? I can play around Wasteland a little bit by just, like, minusing this Karn now. I think I will go ahead and do that. Let's go yes. Yeah, I'll just pick up the Ensnaring Bridge. This is fine. And then if my opponent has, like, a Wasteland or a Fetch Land and they grow this, I don't care super much that the Karn dies. Because, like, I will have gotten good value out of the Karn. It will have blown up a land. Yep. Okay, so my opponent can sacrifice their forest to turn this into a 3/4. So that means I do not want to block. Goodbye, Karn. Alright, Urborg. Play out this Savannah this turn. And I think I'm going to get in damage with this opposition agent while I can still get in damage with this opposition agent. I am also just going to play out this Helm. There's very few reasons why I need this in hand, and if I'm going to, like, end up trying to hide behind an Ensnaring Bridge for a while, I might as well just, like, start playing out my expensive cards as I can. Okay, there's another basic, and we probably trade some damage back and forth for a little while. If Near Deadlands is technically active, I can use it to kill this, which actually just kills this. I don't think I need to kill this right now. I'll just play my land here. Go ahead and bash on in. Opponent goes to 13. Do I play the bridge? Seeing as my opponent has the larger creature, and any time that they want to start being defensive, they just can, I think I will go ahead and play this out. The big thing that this walks into, though, is Force of Vigor. Force of Vigor gets better, because, like, Ensnaring Bridge and Helm both become targets simultaneously instead of one at a time. Just throwing this out there. There's also a world where I was not supposed to play the Savannah from Exile, and I instead was supposed to play Urborg because it gets cards out of my hand faster. Just a note here. My opponent only has like 6 creatures in their deck. That's a Wasteland Machine. Yeah, I'll take those hits. That's fine. Anyway, my opponent doesn't have that many creatures in their deck. It's very reasonable that I could just like activate Helm of Obedience and start milling them out that way. Ooh, this is a very good draw for a subtle reason, in addition to just like the obvious reason of like it probably kills my opponent instantly. So Force of Vigor plus green card beats me. But if I let my opponent untap, Path beats me. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just activate now. All right, show me what you got. Do you have Force of Vigor? It's very good if you do. Okay, great. I do just want to state that that was another game where like turn 1 Karn was just like not impressive. Like it obviously did things, but my opponent's derpy little growing elf is just so good at pressuring my opposing Karn start, specifically because I am blowing up their lands and growing them for them. So my opponent has 3 Force of Vigor, 3 Prismatic Ending, 1 Night of Autumn, plus 3, maybe 4 Green Suns to find those as outs to my bullshit. That's a decent amount. I don't think I want Plague Engineer. It's good against Sylvan Safekeeper, but that's a 1 of. I could see wanting to board in one of these 2 cards. Like, I have 2 bridges. My opponent just has so many answers to them. It's like awkward. I'm gonna go down another Mox and play this other Ensnaring Bridge. It puts more tension on my opponent's answers to artifacts. I mean, yeah. Wasteland fucks me here. But I don't think I get to throw this back. This is turn 1 Dauthi Voidwalker or Opposition Agent, and then the other one on turn 2. Okay. Get out. Get out. Or turn 1 double Dauthi Voidwalker? Yeah. Yeah. 3 mana, 5 mana. Is double Dauthi better than opposition agent. I can just, no, I want to get this out of my hand specifically because I don't have black on turn 2. But I do have 3 mana for opposition agent the other way. This Ensnaring Bridge is now practically a dead card because, like, I just need to murder my opponent before they do cool things. My opponent holds up Reclaimer mana. I'm actually pretty okay. Like, I just play my City of Traders, pass the turn. They go to rotate. I opposition agent. I laugh. And I take my 3/2. Go home a happy man. Ooh, a Yavimaya. Sure. Okay. Yep, I mean, I have Shadow, so I'm not blocking. Oh. Okay. I play my land. I attack for 6. My opponent goes to 13. I don't want my opponent to rotate in response to me casting this opposition agent. So I am just going to cast this now. It's worse versus Swords to Plowshares, but I think with 6 shadow damage on board, if my opponent had Swords to Plowshares, they just had to cast it on my turn pre-combat. I don't think they can take that 3 extra damage. Notably, since my opponent has Yavimaya, their fetch lands are actual mana sources currently. Whoa, that's so good. Yeah, that's so good. That's a weird draw. I don't want to lose my opposition agent. I am just going to attack for 6 here. Like, this is still a 3-turn clock, assuming no other interaction. I don't want to play Ancient Tomb. I'll just keep the City of Traders, because this allows me to play a 4-drop if I draw one. A colorless 4-drop specifically. Okay. What do you got? We have gotten the GGs. Yeah, we have gotten the no removal spells frowny face from the opponent. This was a super intricate game. I really enjoyed this one. And we do end up with the 3-2 in this league. Overall thoughts on the deck list. I think the mana base needs work. I think the mana base is absolutely just too greedy, as is, even with Mox Diamond. I think some of the cute cards kind of just need to get cut. Like, I can understand conceptually wanting to play the Underworld Cookbook because you can use it to recycle a Dauthi Voidwalker, but I did not use the sacrifice ability once. Like, this was just additional copies of Leyline. Similarly, like, this is not a playable card unless a lot of things have already gone right, and if you've locked your opponent out via opposition agent, do you actually need this? Probably not. So I would maybe be looking to replace these 2 cards with some other, like, reasonable Game 1 Magic cards. I don't think you need a 5th Urza Saga tutor target in this deck. I think it's fine. So that would be a starting point. I'd also get rid of a couple of these singleton lands and just straight up play more swamps. Swamps are good. Play them. I think, like, playing these singleton targets to, like, go into the expedition map is just too cute. So, like, if Urza Saga goes off and does its thing, and you have time to expedition map for the tutor target that you need, you're probably doing okay in the game anyway, right? So I think that's just jumping through too many hoops to build an Urza Saga package and just taking away from the rest of the mana base. Like, I want stable, non-wastelandable mana sources, and I want a little bit more black in the deck. As far as the sideboard goes, I think it was reasonable. The double Ensnaring Bridge felt kind of weird. Like, I can understand, like, wanting to have a second so that, like, you can wish for it again versus Murktide decks or something like that. I don't know. I feel like the cards that are in this deck in the sideboard here are reasonable, but I don't know. Some of the things like Walking Ballista are a lot less good than they used to be, specifically because of large singular threats like Uro and Murktide Regent that just don't get answered by small pinging things. Alright, if you made it to this point in the video and you're not subscribed already, just saying, I'm here just about every day. You could be too. For everyone else, please consider throwing me a like on your way out the door. It's one of the easiest ways to support my content for free, and if you end up wanting to try this one out, the information is always available in the video description. Have a great rest of the day, folks. See ya!